Well, Melinda!
Hey, Larry, are you ready? It's the big day.
I will be ready.
Yeah, it's Casa Lexington's Bourbon in the Bayou.
Of course.
This is not the right road, Larry.
What do you want me to do?
Get your Mardi Gras beads on and show us your Mardi Gras flair. All right,
How about
there's
this?
the beads.
What do you think? I'll go get the rest of it and put it on.
Sounds good. See you in a minute.
Good evening. My name's Jillian Kide, and I would like, on behalf of our event committee and my fellow board of directors, to welcome you to 2021's Bourbon in the Bayou. I know things look quite different this year compared to last year's event, but the mission of CASA still remains the same. So thank you for tuning in from the comfort of your homes. I hope you enjoyed our virtual bourbon experience that served as our cocktail hour this past hour, and would like to thank Distilled Living and Tim Niddle for putting on that incredible experience. Now to the important thing, the mission of CASA, which has critically remained the same, especially in this pandemic year. You're joining in hopefully from the comfort of your home, and for the past year you might have felt isolated, you might have at times felt hopeless of where is this year leading to and where do we go from here. But the children that aren't safe at home, that's the reason that we're all tuning in tonight. What can we do for them? I can tell you of someone that has volunteered for CASA for over 20 years now, that I have seen firsthand what CASA advocates do for children that need a voice in our overburdened judicial system. They go in, they understand what's going on with that child and the complex family dynamics and the need for what needs to happen to get them into a safe, permanent, and loving home. So thank you so much for being here this evening, for helping us raise money for the vital, essential CASA advocates that Central Kentucky needs. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Ryan Lemon of KSR and Melinda Jameson, our Executive Director of CASA, who will serve as our MCs for this evening's events. Thank you again. We're thrilled to have you here with us.
I'm Melinda Jameson, Executive Director of CASA of Lexington, serving Fayette, Bourbon, Woodford, and Scott counties. We are so thrilled to have Ryan Lemon once again as our MC for Bourbon in the Bayou. Thanks for joining us, Ryan. What are you wearing?
This is what I wear every day now, Melinda. This is my quarantine uniform. I mean, I don't think I've had pants on since last year's Bourbon in the Bayou.
Too much information for those of us watching at home and myself. But just saying, this is a classy event. We've got a serious mission here.
Well, that's why I've got on my Casa Superhero t-shirt on today. That's what I'm talking about.
Wrong event. Superhero Run? That's going to be August 21st, 2021. And exciting news at Windstar Farm.
Oh, that's big news.
Yeah, big news.
Yeah.
So, wrong event, but you've given me an idea. What have you been doing during quarantine?
Eating a lot of ramen noodles, watching Desperate Housewives, sitting on my couch in my uniform. That's about it.
Needless to say, I don't know that I love your television selection either, but you've given me an idea of how we can get you a little healthier and support healthy homes for the abused and neglected children.
I don't like what you're thinking here.
I'm thinking that people are going to be excited to see you hitting the pavement, but let's talk about that later, because right now we're excited to kick off Bourbon in the Bayou.
Sorry, I can't wear this?
Can't is a strong word, but I would strongly prefer that you find something different.
Hang on.
That's what I'm talking about. Let's get this party started.
Yeah. All right, now that I am dressed and ready, it's time to get the party started. But first, I want to thank and recognize all of our sponsors and bourbon distilleries for this year's 2021 Bourbon and the Bayou. We started off with our presented by Community Trust Bank. We thank them very much. Our gold sponsors, Ball Homes, Dan Cummins, and Momentum Commercial Construction. Our silver sponsors, Setzer Properties and Quantrell Auto Group. Our purple sponsors, Clark Material Handling, Edward Jones and Miranda Wiles, and Massage Envy and Messer. Our green sponsors, Anthem, Osseo Capital, Baptist Health, Bullard, Central Bank, Crown Stair, Jackson Kelly, and Traditional Bank. And our bourbon sponsors, Jim Beam and Four Roses. Now be sure to take advantage of our silent auction items. We've got some great items up for bid, so make sure you check them out. All proceeds go, of course, directly to the mission of CASA of Lexington. It gives these neglected and abused children a voice, also gives them a CASA volunteer. Very important. That's why we're here. The silent auction closes at 9 p.m., so go in there and get your bids in quickly.
Being a CASA volunteer was a really new experience for me, and I had to learn a lot quickly. I think CASA is important to children. You're just a person there that cares about them and is going to see them often. Right away, I did some Zoom meetings so that she could see me and I could see her. And then we did have a court appearance. She wanted to talk to her judge, so we set up for her to be able to be in a Zoom meeting with the judge there. That's how I first met her. And then when the weather was suitable, I went to her house and had a couple meetings outdoors with her. I do believe that I'm one of the few human faces that is seeing her at her home. And I made an attempt, my first attempt to drive over there and see her. I thought it was really important that I see her in person and that she knows I'm a real person. Her plan right now is adoption, is to be adopted because her mother is mentally ill and has disappeared. They cannot locate her. For this girl, she has no family, so I'm outside the organizations. I mean, I'm not a counselor, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a social worker, I'm just a person that she can visit with. I would encourage people to think about becoming a volunteer, whatever your stage in life. It just makes me, it just broadens my world a little bit.
And now I have the privilege and honor of introducing the 2021 Bourbon in the Bayou Honoree Chair. Tonight's honoree is Mr. Larry Jones, Community Trust Bank's Central Region President. Larry is incredible. He is a humanitarian with a heart of gold. Everyone that knows him professionally or personally knows the humble nature that is Larry Jones. He's hardworking, he's empathetic, and he's always first in line to help CASA of Lexington. So please enjoy this video about what Larry Jones has done for CASA of Lexington. Thank you, Larry.
So during high school, I used to tell my mother that I was either going to be a banker or a football coach. Now, my mom spent all her time trying to convince me that I didn't need to be a football coach. And so here I am, I guess, is a long story of that one.
All 7 years of Bourbon and Bayou, Community Trust Bank and Larry Jones have been with us every single year, and we appreciate that. As our event grew and as the sponsorship grew, he never flinched when I went to him and said, well, this is what it's going to cost this year. And we appreciate that. And you know, the thing about Larry Jones is, Larry Jones and Community Trust, they're not just helping CASA. Before COVID, at different events around town, I would see them, and they support a lot of agencies in town. And so they're, you know, our community is very lucky to have Larry and Community Trust.
Being involved in the community is his number one, it's his driving force in his career. That's all he wants to do is help folks. He's just a giving kind of person. So what better place to give of himself but through CASA.
How can you not be in the corner with young children who are in a situation that at some other time in life they would never choose to be there? It's hard not to have sympathy and empathy for young children if they're in rough situations. And your mission helps those people.
CASA is important to Larry because he believes in giving back to the people of our community. He really believes in the mission of CASA. His belief in the organization has led to ongoing financial contributions and increasing year over year from Community Trust Bank.
You know, they're a community bank. Kentucky, this is their state. They care about Kentuckians and Lexingtonians and Danvillians or wherever you live, and they're invested.
Well, I feel like Larry really wants to know his employees. He has a good grasp on everything that goes on here in the community.
He's beloved by many, not just employees, but I think in the community. So I feel blessed to be his wife.
I love his Southern accent, his Mississippi accent. He's a kidder. He's just a fun guy to be around.
He cares about the folks that Community Trust serves, which are going to be the same folks that CASA helps.
He doesn't think of himself as a compassionate person, but I think he's very, very much a compassionate person. I think that's why he's able to see the need in helping these children through the legal system.
You could rescue a small child from a very bad situation, and your influence has helped. I mean, why would you not do that?
If you think of all the nonprofits that you can opt to support, what more important than the care of children that have fallen through the cracks? I mean, this should be right at the top of the list of those you want to donate toward.
It's amazing, the support from the community, from the Community Trust Bank, from corporations, from people giving their time and talents, from the basement that we started in to where we are now. It makes me almost teary, but it's amazing.
I thought I could come here and work 2 or 3 or 4 years and go back to Mississippi. It's like the company so well that here I am 19 years later, the same folks doing the same kind of thing.
Larry Jones is passionate about CASA of Lexington and giving back to the community through that organization.
So much progress has been made, and at the end of the day, that progress means that some child's life is going to be changed.
Big congratulations to Larry Jones, and we thank you for all you do to the community on behalf of CASA of Lexington. Next, we're excited to welcome the Vice President and Market Senior Loan Officer of Community Trust Bank, the presenting sponsor of Bourbon in the Bayou, Kathy Taylor.
Hello, I'm Kathy Taylor with Community Trust Bank, and we are proud to be the presenting sponsor of the 2021 Bourbon and the Bayou virtual event from CASA of Lexington. Every year, CASA of Lexington volunteers help hundreds of abused and neglected children regain hope, get much-needed services, and find safe, permanent homes. These children aren't just numbers. They are the children your kids go to school with, the children of your neighbors, your friends, and your family members. They have been through trauma and thrown into chaotic worlds filled with strangers and uncertainty about the future. These children deserve to have a normal childhood. They should be able to go to bed at night without fear. They should be able to go to school and think about learning. Children with CASA volunteers are moved less frequently during their cases, resulting in more stability. And once they are placed in a permanent home and their case is closed, the vast majority of CASA kids, nearly 90%, never re-enter the foster care system. This is why Community Trust Bank supports CASA of Lexington. We believe the future is brighter for all of us if we help those most in need today. When a child grows up sheltered and safe, they grow up strong enough to break cycles of abuse or poverty that may have plagued their family for generations. This is what CASA of Lexington helps make happen for so many children right here in Central Kentucky. In 2020, more than 200 CASA volunteers advocated for the best interests of nearly 600 abused and neglected children. There are hundreds, perhaps thousands more children whose futures would be brighter if a CASA volunteer was available for them. Our sponsorship of CASA of Lexington from this one event will provide dozens of local children with a CASA volunteer for 1 year. And we are proud to say that this year's sponsorship is a continuation of our long-standing support for CASA of Lexington. Personally, one event that I love attending is the angel tree lighting, which I have to share a special story. One particular year, most of the children's names had been selected from the tree. I walked over and was drawn to a name, not seeing what the name was until I pulled it off the tree. And it happened to be the name of my older brother, who had passed away years ago from cancer. It seemed like it was meant to be, and it warmed my heart that I could do something special for a little boy that shared my brother's name, and it was a very sweet moment. So again, I am honored to represent Community Trust Bank and proud to be the sponsor of the 2021 Bourbon and the Bayou virtual event. Stay safe and healthy, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathy, and everybody at Community Trust Bank for investing in the children served through CASA and of Lexington, and you're truly making our community a better place for everyone. We appreciate it very much. Now, trust me, you won't want to miss this video coming up. You're going to love it. It features some of our own CASA volunteers from CASA here in Lexington and highlights the importance of the work that they are doing every day. Now, before we play this video, we want to say thank you to all of our CASA volunteers for advocating on behalf of the children you work with. You're going to love every minute of this video. Pay attention.
In my first case, the two children that I worked with grew up in a home that there was abuse in that home, and the judge was trying to determine what can we do about this.
One of the cases that I've been involved in is there was some violence that took place, and it caused some undue stress and trauma for the young kid that I'm working with now.
The social workers are trying to make reports to the judge also, and we make reports, but they're not seeing, they're so busy. I mean, they're overloaded.
I think as being a CASA volunteer, I think we are that buffer that kids need to keep them from getting lost in the shuffle.
We can present a better picture to the judge, to the family, to the social worker that ends up with a better outcome for the kids. And so their voice can be heard.
We're visiting those children at least once a month and keeping eyes on those children to see whether there's abuse, neglect going on in that household. How are these children's well-being? How is that? And we make a report to the family court judge. We make recommendations.
Kentucky has been one of the top states, if not the top state, for child abuse, child neglect for multiple years running. And so I think what people don't understand is that in our own communities, whether you're in Lexington or anywhere in Kentucky, abuse and neglect is happening by the hundreds and thousands of children.
I would like just to take a moment and ask those that, I know it doesn't take a lot of time, but if you have some time that you could give to CASA, We need your help.
I will tell you, I have no special qualifications.
I think you have to have patience. You have to have compassion. You have to have a love for children.
I just feel like a heart for people, and you have to be curious, I would say, and patient.
You've got to have a heart to say, I want these kids to have the best that they can have, and to overcome whatever obstacles they might have in their life.
We're not there, the child's not receiving that same service. Without CASA, children fall through the cracks. One of our judges said the other day, if it weren't for the CASA volunteer, I would have no idea what was going on in this child's life. In other situations, we've had judges say if it weren't for CASA, I don't know that we would have ever made it to adoption day because this child might have been a child fatality. There are children waiting for you.
CASA is where ordinary gestures can make an extraordinary impact.
CASA is the voice that creates change in the life of a child.
CASA is committing to exposing the truth.
CASA is building a relationship with the child.
CASA is rewarding.
CASA is support.
CASA is unity.
CASA is advocating.
CASA is esperanza.
CASA is hope. I hope everyone has enjoyed their bourbon in Toulouse, or maybe if you haven't had it yet, you have 6 months to enjoy that food. Speaking about eating, Ryan, you mentioned a lot of ramen noodles.
Oh, yeah.
And I mentioned that challenge. Are you ready to hear more?
No, I don't know. You got this sneaky little smile on your face, so I don't know what you cooked up here.
So here's what I'm thinking. 2020 was rough. We're still raging through the pandemic. And I mentioned running. What about, to make it more fun, we have kids that need sponsors tonight to have CASA volunteers. What if you run 1 mile for every child that gets a sponsor at Bourbon in the Bayou?
Tonight? I got to run a mile tonight?
No. We clearly could not get that accomplished. I'm thinking before the 2022 Bourbon in the Bayou.
Okay, so a year from now.
Yes, sir. You run 1 mile for every kid that gets a sponsor. And maybe you'll be in some new duds.
I need to get a little better shape. My COVID weight. So if we sponsor 100 kids, I need to run 100 miles before next year's Bourbon in the Bayou.
That's right, but don't be a whiner about it. I'll do 4 miles to your 1 mile.
You're going to do, okay.
Yeah, we serve 4 counties, Fayette, Bourbon, Woodford, Scott. If you can come to the table and do 1 mile for every kid that gets a sponsor, I'll do 4. That's 5 miles for every kid that gets a sponsor. 1 by yours truly, Ryan Lemon, and 4 by me.
Hey, keep in mind, I don't run. I don't exercise.
That's okay. The time to start, it's now.
It's very true. Can I start by walking?
Yes, but those won't count towards the mileage. You have to start where you're at. I'll train you. We can get there. You could even premiere at the CASA Superhero Run at Star Farm.
There's 3 miles right there.
That's 3 miles, and who knows how many sponsors we're going to get. Last year, we had 87. Hopefully, we could do better. Wouldn't it be nice if 100 kids got a sponsor for an entire year?
So the more sponsors, the more miles I have to run.
Yeah, basically we could have a thermometer on the website that says, make Ryan run, serve children.
You're not even getting a lot of enjoyment out of this, but it is for the kids.
Exactly right.
Look at the smiley little faces there, it's for the kids.
So what do you think? You look like you're ready to go.
Oh, I need the exercise. This is my motivation to get out and finally get rid of the COVID weight.
Yeah, just a little stretching, Ryan, right here. I'll lead you through. And our silent auction, it even has a certificate by a registered dietitian to help you shed more pounds.
Amanda Nybert.
That's
She's really
right.
good.
Yeah.
She's the best.
And you could do this with your wife and kids. This could be a family activity.
Yeah, but they're a lot better runners than I am. I'm a beginner. I'm really a beginner.
That's okay. It makes it more fun.
Okay.
You can even include footage of you.
No, I don't know if you want that.
I think people
that'd
want
be
that.
for comedy purposes only.
Okay, so you're in.
I'm in.
We're in. 5 miles for every kid sponsored at 2021 Bourbon in the Bayou. So get those checks rolling in, tax deductible, give a child a CASA for an entire year, and make Ryan run a mile. Tonight, I'm going to share with you a true story about a child that was living here in Lexington and a glimpse into her story. To ensure confidentiality, names have been changed and we will refer to her as Kristen. Kristen was 8 years old when she came into care, when she came to the attention of police and state social workers. Her babysitter called the police because Kristen wrote her a note stating that she was being sexually abused. Kristen and her younger brother were removed and placed into foster care outside of Fayette County. Although each child has their own story, tonight we will focus on Kristen. The investigation revealed that Kristen had not been attending school and had missed 14 days in a row. She was in charge of getting herself and her brother ready for school, had poor hygiene, the home was unsanitary and had roaches, lacked food, and the children were being both physically and sexually abused. Almost immediately, Kristen began to share information on what had occurred to her in her own home. She shared her mom would make her have sex with her mother's boyfriend, take pictures of her naked and send them to the boyfriend, and she would be forced to watch the two of them having relations. It was later discovered Mom had given boyfriend power of attorney over both children, giving him legal control to make decisions on behalf of the children he had abused. Kristen was assigned a CASA volunteer. Kristen's CASA volunteer has developed a bond with her through regular visits. She recommended therapy for her and has ensured she continues to receive treatment for the trauma she experienced. Worked to ensure she received additional support to be on grade level and advocated for Kristen and her brother to remain together. It was discovered there had been 15 previous child abuse and neglect requests, of which only one was proven. Records revealed domestic violence, homelessness, unsanitary living conditions, physical abuse, drug use, sexual abuse, educational neglect, and malnutrition. Kristen's mom and the mom's boyfriend were arrested and are now in custody. Kristen's mom waived her rights and said she didn't want anything to do with the children because they were liars. Kristen's biological father was out of state, in rehab, and unable to commit to caring for her. Pending termination of parental rights, the foster family plans to adopt Kristen and her brother. The CASA volunteer will stay involved until this occurs and permanency is achieved for both children. This past Christmas, Kristen shared with her CASA volunteer she was the luckiest girl in the world because she received new clothes, a craft kit, and a pink Polaroid camera. Kristen is one of 583 children to have a CASA volunteer through CASA of Lexington in 2020. Unfortunately, there were over 1,000 more children in our 4-county service region that we could not provide with a CASA volunteer. Our goal is to make sure that at least 87 children receive a CASA volunteer for the next year. In 2020, we were overwhelmed by your support and were able to match 87 abused and neglected children in our community with CASA volunteers. You have impacted their lives and changed them forever. Would you be one of 87 people tonight to make a $1,000 tax-deductible gift and give a child a CASA volunteer for an entire year? I believe Kristen and all of the children waiting are definitely worth it. Please go online at the website on the screen to sponsor a child for $1,000. You will forever make a difference in a child's life. So far tonight, 23 children have already received a CASA volunteer for an entire year. For each of the 23 of you out there that have already sent in your checks, we want to say a huge thank you for giving those children a voice on their behalf to make sure that they have safe and permanent homes. We still need 64 people to commit to giving a child a CASA volunteer for a year. Would you be one of 64 to make a $1,000 gift and give a child a CASA volunteer? and change their life forever? Please invest in the children in our community and be the voice for them.
Thank you, Melinda, for sharing that Sponsor a Child story. I know every year it is gut-wrenching to hear those stories. It's so hard to know that that's going on in our community. But every year at Bourbon in the Bayou, I'm uplifted when I see the raising of hands and the balloons going up for every child that we're sponsoring. Last year, we sponsored 87 children in that room right in that moment following Melinda sharing her story. So thank you again for tuning in. Please consider, whatever your capacity is, sponsoring a child. You can do it at a click of the button, or you can call us here in the office this evening. So thank you again. Also, don't forget about the other children in our community that are trying to help get CASA advocates by decorating masquerade masks. They are up on our auction site. You'll see that they took the embellishments and the masks and they made incredible creations. It's $1 per vote, and whoever has the most votes will get a home visit from Matilda. Anyone that knows Matilda knows how incredible she is with children. She goes to at-home visits. She goes in the courtroom to help children when they have to give testimonies. She's incredible, and all of our little mask makers that have submitted their final creation are up on the website and would love to win that prize of a special personalized visit from Matilda. So thanks again for tuning in. Please consider sponsoring a child, as well as voting on masks and, of course, our incredible auction items. The auction does close at 9 p.m. Eastern this evening. Thanks again for being here with us this evening.
So if you're sitting at home on your couch and you want to sponsor a child, it's easy. Go to this link on your screen right now. You can sponsor a child that way, or you can call our offices. We have somebody on staff right now taking your calls, 859-246-4313. You can sponsor a child that way, or go to that link right there. And thank you once again to our presenting sponsor tonight, Community Trust Bank. Each of our sponsors as well. We can't do any of this without all of you. And a big thanks to Community Trust Bank. Our gold sponsors, Ball Homes, Dan Cummings, and Momentum Commercial Construction. Our silver sponsors, Setzer Properties and Quantrail Auto Group. Our purple sponsors, Clark Material Handling, Edward Jones with Miranda Wiles, Massage Envy, and Messer. Our green sponsors, Anthem, Osseo Capital, Baptist Health, Bullard, Central Bank, Crown Stair, Jackson Kelly, and Traditional Bank. And our bourbon sponsors, Jim Beam, Four Roses. Without each of you, the work of CASA of Lexington would not be possible, so thank you from the bottom of our heart each and every year. Now don't forget, our online auction will close promptly at 9 p.m. Guys, gals, listen, if you've not done anything for Valentine's Day, you got a couple days left. The clock is ticking. Now's your chance. Go to our online auction. Buy that special Valentine package right now. We've got these bourbon packages. We've got restaurant packages. We've got a great 2-night overnight stay over at Shaker Village. That's a good romantic getaway for you. 2 nights over at Shaker Village. You get to meet the chef. You get a private tour. Great little romantic getaway. But of course, the big money item, the Jamaica week-long vacation, went for $18,000 last year. We can top that this year. Who doesn't want to go to Jamaica this time of year? So get that for your honeymoon, little vacation, little romantic getaway. Bid now, bid often. 9 o'clock closes promptly at 9, so you got plenty of time to go and help us out on our online auction. Auction items will be available for pickup at the main CASA office. It's on Loch Ness Drive. You can pick it up during business hours, Monday through Friday, and you can make other reservations by calling the office at 246-4313. Guys, gals, thank you very much for joining us. We look very forward to seeing you again next year. Hopefully we'll be live in person, and hopefully you'll have a nice, slim, better looking suit to come on. So we'll see you next year in the 2022 Bourbon in Bayou. We'll see you.